Hello and welcome to this demo video. Before we get started, I'd just like to explain to you a few things which will relate to all of the basic range spreadsheets. Number one, there is a key on the intro and setup tab of all of the spreadsheets showing what the different color headers mean. The blue headers mean that the cell's formulated, so it's locked and you can't change it. The yellow headers are where you can input data, and occasionally there might be some gray headers, which is just a different kind of data input, but we'll include instructions as and when that happens. The other thing that you can be aware of is there are ways in which you can damage the spreadsheet. So please do take a look at the link where you see this image, which will take you to a web page to show you how to better preserve your spreadsheet. Please feel free to keep a blank version of the spreadsheet somewhere, so that if you do mess up a spreadsheet that you're using, you can in fact just open a new one, a blank one. And some of the spreadsheets only last for a year, and then you've got a blank one to start the following year. So do keep a blank copy as a backup somewhere. And lastly, wherever you see this image, you can click on it. It'll take you back to the store where you purchased this product to see if you've got anything, any more products. One last thing, to see a demo video, you can click on this on a link that looks like this in order to go to the demo video, but that'll take you to the most recent demo. If in fact we've done upgrades and you're using an older version and you'd like to see the demo relating to your version, then do click on the watch on YouTube link, which will take you to that specific video on YouTube. So I think that's all you need to know. So without further ado, let's move on to this demo video. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to this demo video for the filler task list. Now what this is, well, I personally found that I had a lot of tasks that were needing to be done, but they weren't necessarily part of a project, or they weren't necessarily a meeting or something that had to be done on a specific day, which I put into the calendar. What I found was that you had those kind of niggling tasks that you thought, oh, I really should do that at some stage, or I really should update the website, or I really should do X, Y, and Z, or whatever, and you don't actually make a time for it, but it's just one of those things that are kind of always milling around that you always need to do, and then you tend to forget about it, and then when you do have an hour and you think, what can I get done in this hour, then you can't remember what you needed to do, and then when you're busy, you remember it again. It was just a bit of a mess, and those tasks often went undone because there wasn't actually a place to put them. So what I've done now is I've just made this it's a very straightforward spreadsheet in order just to keep a list of all of those little tasks that I call filler tasks, that when you've got an hour you can knock a few of them off the list. So this is how it works. It looks a little bit more complicated than possibly what it needs to be. You might just have a spreadsheet with sort columns and just be able to sort them, but I've done it to be a little bit more intuitive than that. So let me just show you how I've set this up. First and foremost, on the intro and setup tab, I've listed some list names and I've already filled this in. These are all on drop-down lists. Um, so essentially what I've done is I've called the list name oldest, the other list name newest, high priority, low priority, shortest, longest, next due, last due, and then bespoke up, as you can see, I've left blank. So oldest, for example, all the tasks that have been on the list for the longest, the newest, that would be the oldest tasks at the top. Here you've got the newest tasks at the top, so those ones you just added will be at the top of the list. This one will be your high priority. I'll show you in a sec when we get to the task tab. You can set the priority. These ones will be ranked by low priority. These ones will be ranked with the shortest tasks first, the longest tasks first, and the next due tasks first, or the last due tasks first. So really what I'm doing is I'm selecting the first criteria to sort by, the second criteria to sort by, and the third criteria to sort by. So obviously this oldest one, for example, will sort by the oldest to newest on the posted date. And then if those two are the same, then it will go to a second ranking criteria, which will be the due date, the soonest to the last. And then if those two are also the same, then it will look at the priority, the highest to lowest. So really it's just the first sorting criteria, second sorting criteria, and third sorting criteria. The reason why I've left this open is so that you can play around with this if you want to change how they're sorted. You can change these names as well. Just make sure that these names are relevant to what you've selected here so that you know what they are that you're looking at. Because these list names here will be available on the next spreadsheet to sort by those in that particular order. So as I said, I would usually leave this locked, but I've left that unlocked so you can change them. But what I would probably suggest doing is leaving those as it is and just selecting your own bespoke one if you want to have a bespoke option as to how you wish to sort the data. That's all. All you need to do other than that is just put your name in here. It'll just go through to the spreadsheet. That's all it will do. Yeah, I think that's all you need to do on the Setup tab. Then what you can do is the Tasks tab. So what does the Task tab do? Well, the Task tab, you just list your tasks. So when you add on a task, put the date in when you're adding it. Put the task. You can type in what the task is in this cell over here, and then select the priority. So here you can select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 being the most urgent, which will come up in red. 1 being the least urgent, and those, as you select them, will change color accordingly. So you can select the priority. Whoops, we don't want to do that. And you can also input the duration of the task. So for argument's sake, 5 minutes or an hour or 5 hours, whatever the case might be. Just remember to add it in as hours and minutes. So if you want to add in 30 minutes, you need to put naught with a colon like that, and then the 30 for 30 minutes. If you just type in 30, it's going to assume you mean 30 days, and it's going to put it in as 720 hours. So you just need to be clear about that when you're entering your information. Also, if there is a due date, now as you can see, some of my tasks don't have due dates. That's fine. If it's just something that you need to get done, put it in. Leave it blank. Sorry, if it's something that has to be done by a certain date, then put it in. 2 reasons. First of all, you can sort by which tasks are due first, so then it'll sort it in that order. And second of all, when you actually get to the day today is the 21st of October. If we change this one here to the 21st of October, it flags up and says that this task is actually due today, so it gives you a warning that there's something that needs to be done that day. So that is why it's quite useful to put the due date in, if there is such a thing. If there's not, just leave it blank, that's fine. And then last but not least is your percentage done column. So what you can do here is put in how much of the task you've done. So for argument's sake, a 6-hour task, we might be a third of the way through already, in which case you just put 30%. If I work on a bit more and think, well, I'm roughly 50%, I'll then change it to 50%. It really doesn't matter if it's not accurate. It doesn't have to be particularly accurate. It's just for working out your timings. That's all. So you can put in 30%. When you actually get to 100% and you put in 100%, it'll then change and mark that task as done, and it'll go green, so you know that that task is actually complete. Any completed tasks will not come on the drop-down list of tasks. I'm going to show you how that drop-down list works in a minute, because that's what we've done that whole setup for. So let's just put this back at 30%, and then, let's put it at 30%, and then let me show you how this filter works. You can filter the duration. So for argument's sake, if you're sitting down and you say, well, actually, I've got half an hour, you can put in here, you don't need to put in 0, if it's blank, it'll take it to 0. You can come in here and you can say 0 hours 30 minutes, and then it'll exclude those ones because you can't do them within an hour. If you want to include all tasks because you want to maybe do an hour of that 5-hour task, then just leave that blank and it'll show everything. But if you specifically want tasks that you can do within an hour, then just put in the filter there and it'll pull them up. So now you can see there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tasks, and if we go onto the list, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tasks. So those are the 6. It excludes any that are highlighted in red. The other thing that you can filter by, if you want to, and you can include the duration and the priority filter, is you can say, well, actually, I would only like 5 priority ratings, or 4 priority ratings and 5 priority ratings, or whatever the case might be. You don't have to put the 5 minutes to max, you put the 4, it'll include it. If you say, for argument's sake, I only want 3 and 4 star ratings, it'll only show the 3 and the 4, the others will all be excluded. And once again, only the valid ones will appear on the drop down list. So you can filter by priority should you wish to, or you can filter by duration, or you can just leave them blank, which case it'll include anything. And then this here is your list order. What order do you want the list to appear in? Now these items here, if it's blank, it'll go yellow because I want you to select something. These items here are the names that you've got on your intro and setup list that we've told here. So that's why I know what they are, because you've selected the first, second, and third sorting criteria. So if I come back here again, the only one that's not on that list is one that you shouldn't have added personally, but it's a hidden one, which is called auto, And what auto does is it actually takes all the criteria into consideration, and it works out a formula based on all of them in order to bring you what the spreadsheet thinks is your most, the task that you should be doing first based on all of this criteria. So for argument's sake, this one's saying I should really get cracking on task 6, which is this one over here, probably because it's got to do with a high priority and a short task, and they can get it done quite quickly. So there is an auto one as well, but otherwise you can select one of the ones that either I've programmed in at the beginning with those formulas and selections, or you can make your own on the intro and setup tab. But whichever list you pick here, what that will do is it'll put the tasks in order in this drop-down list. Now, if you've got a blank drop-down list, if you've already selected one and you come here to select it again, it's obviously going to start where you made the selection. So it's best to start from a blank selection. Then what you can do is select the task you want, and then as you can see, when you select that task, it highlights that task in the yellow color, and actually it says here row 17. So what this is essentially doing is it's telling you that that task, there's the task. So if, for argument's sake, you had a whole lot of tasks and you had to scroll down and you couldn't actually see the task on here, it'll show you which row it's in, row 17, task 6, and it'll actually show you what that task is up here. So when you say active task, it'll show you the task that you've selected in here. You can get that task done. Once that task is done, you can come here and you can say, well, that's 100% done. It'll turn green. You can remove it from that one. And now that one's done in green, and now we can move on to the next. And then if we come and select here again, we'll see that task 6 has now disappeared off of the list because it is no longer required to be done. It's completed. So that is how the spreadsheet works. I think that's all you need to know really from this part of the spreadsheet. As I said, if any task due today, it'll pop up. I will put a color key on as far as what these colors mean. The green, the green, is complete. The yellow and the pink color. But obviously, if you select a task, that one turns yellow, and it'll show what row. And if you are excluding any, that'll change things. In fact, there you go. There it shows excluded, and then selected would be the yellow. So yeah. That is all. You've got your task list, you've got your intro setup tab where you can adjust those lists and put your name in there. You've got your task list that you can keep. The only other thing that I need to say is once a task is finished, for example this one, and you select, say, percentage done, you can still use these sorts here to do the good old-fashioned sort if you want to. And if I sort from largest to smallest, what that does is it brings all the 100% to the top. Before I remove the 100%, let me just show you the report. The report, quite simply put, shows you what you've done. You can see I've done a little bit, shows you what you've still got to do, and shows you what your tasks to do. These are the yellow tasks, so the tasks that you've been busy with, and that's the number of hours that I've done. So the further along that black line is, the more of the tasks I've done. So you can kind of see what portion of these tasks have been done, and those tasks are broken down into done, busy, and to do, which are these here, done, busy, and to do. That's based on time. Here you can see the number of tasks in each category. Here you can see the amount of time. So in other words, the time of task busy of 9:42, or how many have I completed? 11 hours 18 minutes. So that's just loosely based on percentages that I put in. So it may not be an exact science. Number of tasks per status, time for task per status. You can see the two graphs there. And if I scroll down, you can see the breakdown by priority, not only in the number of tasks, but also the time. Time required to complete all tasks, average time required per task, time range of tasks, all the graphs are there. This one down below is exactly the same, but what that is the archive report, which I will get to in a moment. What this one does here, let's just go and have a look. What you can do is, when you finished a task, so for argument's sake this, and you don't necessarily have to remove it straight away, you can collect them, but what is going to ultimately happen is you've only got 500 lines, so you're eventually going to start running out of space, so you want to remove all the tasks that you've completed. Now, if you just want to highlight them and clear content, you can highlight, right-click, clear contents, and resort. But what I thought of doing, for myself personally, I like to keep a list of the tasks that I've completed so I can see afterwards, if need be, what was actually done. What I would do then is just say copy. So I've just done one line. You can do an array of lines if you want to. If you sort by the percentage done, all the 100% will come to the top. And then you go to archive tasks, paste values, not normal paste. Normal paste will ruin your spreadsheet. Paste values, you want to just paste the values across. Once you pasted the values across, you can go to your tasks. You can say clear contents, and then you can sort by that column again, oldest to newest, and we'll put all the tasks back in order. You can sort the tasks in alphabetical order or however you prefer. So that means that that particular task is archived. So what does the archive do? It just gives you a much briefer report on the report page. It gives you your total numbers archived, but it's not doing things. It's not using them in the sort and in the tracking. You don't have a status next to it, and it's not in the sort list and all those kind of things. So you can just archive them away once you're done. And then you've got your active task here, and you can go back to your list. I've changed that to low priority. Let's just put that back onto auto where it was, and then you can see what task it is next, and so on. So yeah, I think that makes sense. It's a fairly straightforward spreadsheet, just keeping a list of tasks, but obviously we try to build all the options into the spreadsheet in order to help you sort those lists to get the tasks you want. Have a play around with it, and yes, if it works for you, I really do wish you all the best with your business, and hopefully now you'll keep on top of all of those annoying tasks. Thank you very much, and goodbye.